students. I welcome you again to another lesson. As you know, I'm always teaching you English studies. Today, we'll be learning from this title, English composition. And I'm inviting you to pick your writing materials and let's do it together. I want you to be attentive as I'll be teaching. My name, once again, is Omolade TB. Alright, take your writing materials and let's begin. Alright, English composition. What do you understand by English composition? Can anybody tell me what English composition means? Okay, I'll tell you. English composition can be described as a way of writing in which the writer writes extensively his or her thoughts on a particular topic. I will repeat myself. English composition is a way by which a writer writes extensively his or her thoughts on a particular topic. I hope you got that. Alright. Now, let me quickly write that. English composition can be described as a way of writing in which a writer writes extensively, writes or expresses. You can say he writes or you can say he expresses extensively his or, okay, let me write it in full, or her thoughts on a particular topic. For you to Alright, I said English composition can be described as a way of writing in which a writer writes or expresses his or her thoughts extensively. By expressing or writes extensively his or her, that means you must have a thought on a particular topic before you can say you want to write a composition. Alright? It's described as a way of writing in which a writer writes extensively his or her thoughts on a particular topic. Alright. From there I move to types of English composition. Types of English composition. Alright, in English we have two different types. We have two different types. That means English composition. I'm picking from it. Okay, let me write it. English composition. English composition. We have two types. We have two types. The first types are essays. The first types, essays. That's the first type. The second type is letter writing. I said in English language we have two types of composition, two types of English composition. The first type is essays. The second type is letter writing. Alright, this essay, we have four types of essay. For letters, we have two types. Alright, for essay, I said we have four types. We have narrative essay. We have descriptive essay. We have expository. Expository essay. Lastly, we have argumentative. Argumentative essay. These are the 4 types of essays that we have. We have narrative essay, descriptive essay, expository essay, and argumentative essay. For letters, I said we have 2 types. 2 types of letter. The first letter we have formal. The first letter we have formal letter. And the second letter is informal letter. Are you still there with me? Alright, let's roll on. Now I want to briefly explain these types that I've mentioned earlier on. Don't forget I said we have 2 types of English composition in English. We have, the first type is essay, the second type is letter writing. We have 4 types of essay. We have the narrative essay, we have the descriptive essay, we have the expository essay, and we have argumentative essay. While in English we have 2 types. We have formal letter and informal letter. Alright, let's begin. I want to briefly explain each of these types. For narrative now. Narrative essay. For narrative essay, narratives narrates stories. Narrative narrates stories, tells stories. It is an account or a story or a report of what has happened, especially in the past. An account or a record of something, of an event that has happened in the past. For example, like a robbery that happened or an accident that you witnessed. Those are the examples of narrative in which you have to narrate the story from the beginning to the end, how it happens. So we say narrative tells story. It is an account. It is an account of a happening in the past. It's an account of a happening in the past. For example, I said you can tell a story about an accident or a robbery. Let's say e.g. example, a robbery, an accident that you witnessed. Let's stop it right there for today. So in our coming lesson, subsequent lesson, we will explain more extensively on it. But briefly, we want to explain this type. So on the second one is a descriptive essay. Descriptive essay. What do you understand by descriptive essay? Anybody? Alright. Descriptive essay is, it describes, descriptive essay describes. It can describe a person, it can describe a thing, or an event too. Descriptive essay describes. Mainly it will describe in your essay. For example, they may ask you to describe your school principal, they may ask you to describe your class teacher. That means you have to describe that person in such a way that when your reader is reading your description, it will create a vivid or mental description of how that person is. Do you understand what I'm saying? In your descriptive, when you are describing someone, let's assume you asked to describe your class teacher. I'm sure you will see your class teacher every day in the school. She comes to the class in the morning to take your attendance. Sometimes she might be a subject to chat to you. I mean, every day. Sometimes you may have something that you have to discuss with your class teacher. So you must have relate with your class teacher very well to the extent that if you are describing that teacher, somebody that is reading that essay, you are creating a vivid and mental picture. My class teacher is tall, she is fair, she teaches well, she advises us, she does this, she does that. So by the time you are describing that, the person reading will say, okay, this is the way your class teacher looks like. Do you understand that? Alright, let me write. I said descriptive essay describes. It describes. Just like I said, narrative tells stories. This one, it describes. It can describe maybe a person or a place. Let's take it like that for today. I will explain, like I said, I will explain later extensively. For the third one, expository. Expository essay. What do you understand by expository essay? Expository essay gives a detailed or actual information about a particular subject matter or a particular topic. Like I said expository gives a detailed information about a particular topic. Let's say, for example, you are asked to explain a process of making garri. That's a typical example. That means when you are when you are writing expository, for somebody maybe like me that doesn't know how to make garri, by the time you are giving your detailed information about the process of making garri, then you are informing me about those things that needed to be done for me to see garri in a plate, for me to say I want to drink garri or I want to make eba from my garri. Do you understand what I mean? It gives a detailed information about a process or about something. Okay, let's quickly write that. I said expository gives a detailed or adequate information on a particular topic. I said, for example, process of making garri. Let's say, for example, e.g., a process of making garri. That means when you are giving me detailed information of a process of making garri, that means you tell me from the beginning of maybe weeding the farm, making ridges on the farm, then after making ridges you plant your cassava. After a year you uproot it, then you try to you peel it, then you grate. You peel, you grate, you ferment it for 4 days. After fermentation you fry, then my garri is ready. That's the process. So you have to give me detailed information of anything you are asked to do. All right, lastly, that is the last one is argumentative. All right. Argumentative essay. Argumentative essay argues. You have to argue. For example, a male child is better than a female child, or a farmer is better than a doctor. You understand? So you have to argue. You argue, either you oppose or you support. But before you can argue, you must there should be a motion taking place. There should be a motion. In that motion, you have to either oppose or you support. Let's assume you are supporting, or let's assume you are opposing a motion that says a farmer is better than a doctor. Somebody must have supported that a doctor is better than a farmer. Now you are going to, when you are against it, by the time you are making your point, you need to strike a balance. What do I mean by that? You strike a balance by saying, by telling us the benefits, at least few benefits of what you want to go against, of your, the discussion of your opponent, which supports it. But you are against it. But not that you are going to totally rubbish what your partner has said. You have to at least tell us few benefits or few advantages of what he has said. Then you now lay more emphasis on your point. You are saying you are against what your partner has said. You have to lay more emphasis on your point on which you are against. So I said argumentative argues. It argues. Alright? The kind of example, let me write it. For example, let's say a farmer is better than a doctor. Alright, that's an example, a typical example of argumentative essay. Alright, from there I move to letter writing, another type of English composition. Another type of English composition, letter writing. For letter writing, I said we have two types. I said we have formal letter and we have informal letter. Now, briefly, can anybody tell me what formal letter is? Anybody? Okay, let me tell you. A formal letter is strictly an official letter. Nothing more. No more, no less. Strictly an official letter. It's an unfamiliarized letter in which you write to somebody that holds a position, a high position that you are not familiar with. Such an example of formal letter are maybe you are writing to your principal for to take permission. Maybe you are not going to be in school, so you are writing to take permission. It can also be a letter that is written to an organization, a well-established organization. Maybe you are seeking a position there. For example, you are seeking a position of a clerical staff. Maybe you saw an advertisement in a Punch seeking that a vacancy needed to be occupied. Maybe a vacancy for a clerical assistance. And you think you are in that capacity to fill that position. So the kind of letter you are writing to that organization is called formal letter. I've given you two examples now. So let's quickly write now. I hope you are writing formal letter. I said formal letter is an official letter. Official letter. Example of official letter, I have mentioned two now. I said it's a letter written to organization. A letter written to an establishment or organization. Establishment or organization. It could also be a letter of permission to your principal. A letter of permission to your principal. Maybe you are strong at home or in the hospital, or you want to travel for an occasion, for an event, and you won't be in school for 1 or 2 days. You are taking permission. So the kind of letter you write is formal letter. Let's move from there to informal letter now. Informal letter. Informal letter. Informal letter is a friendly letter. What do I say? Informal letter is a friendly letter. It is a kind of letter that you write to your friends or to your relatives. Either to your friends or to your relatives. In this kind of a letter, you are allowed to write in a friendly way. You are also allowed to use slogan. Alright? You can use slogan, you can use proverbs, you can use idiomatic expression, you'll be free to write whatever, to write your mind, to express yourself in a bigger way, in a bigger picture. Alright, I said informal letter is a friendly letter. Example of that, I said you can write informal letter to friends and relatives. I said a letter to friends a letter to a relative. Relatives like your uncle, your aunt, your mommy, your daddy, all your siblings. Friendly letter in which you can use slogan, idiomatic expression, proverbs. You are free. Feel free to write whatever that is in your mind. All right. From what I have written so far, and I hope you are also writing it. From here, I want to move to the features, because these letters has features in which you have to follow when you are writing them. You don't just pick letter and begin to write like you're writing essay. No, you have to follow features. Features. I will be quick enough to write features. I hope you are written this page. All right. Let's write features. Features now. Features of formal. Let's start with formal. Formal letter. Features of formal letter. The first thing you will write, the first thing under feature of formal letter is two addresses. You are writing two addresses. The first address is the address of the writer, followed by date. The second address is the address of the recipient, I mean the person you are writing to. I said we have two addresses. The address of the writer, you that you are writing the letter, followed by date, then address of the recipient, the person you are writing to. After the address of the recipient, what follows is salutation. Salutation in which you salute the person you are writing to. Dear sir, dear madam. If it's a man, dear sir. If it's a woman, dear madam. Immediately after you write your salutation is the title of your letter. The title of your letter. If you are writing your title in capital letter, you may not underline it. If you are writing in capital letter, if you are writing your title, the topic in capital letter, you don't need to underline. But if you are writing in small letter, you need to underline. You will have to underline. Immediately after you write the title, you have to start your letter. First, you will write introductory paragraph. In that introductory paragraph, you introduce the reader into your letter. You will introduce the letter in the first paragraph. After that, you have other paragraphs, because you have to plan your work into paragraphs. You write other paragraphs. The other paragraphs are all other things you want to say in that letter. Every other thing that you have in mind that you want to say. Why the last paragraph is your conclusive paragraph. Your conclusive paragraph in where you conclude your letter. You end your letter. Immediately after that is your close. For formal letter, your close is just one. That is yours faithfully. Don't forget, it is a formal letter, strictly official letter. You close your letter by using yours faithfully. Immediately after that, you will sign. Signature, you will sign. When you sign, then you write your full name. Your full name. Your surname and your name. Full name. That ends the feature of formal letter. Let me quickly write. So you write as I write. Features of formal letter. I said the first one is two addresses. The first one, two addresses. Addresses. Address of the writer. Address of the recipient. That means the person you are writing to. Don't forget, the recipient is the person you are writing to. Which is the receiver. Okay, let me write it. Receiver. You understand? Immediately after it is the date. The date. Don't forget, you have to write your date in an official way. For example, today is 21, abi? So you have 21st July 2020. And when you are writing, your punctuation is very, very necessary. You have to punctuate 24 July, comma, 2020, full stop. Don't forget your punctuation mark, Immediately after your date is your salutation. Salutation, which is dear sir or madam, dear madam. This one will be in capital letter. Immediately after your salutation is the topic or the title. The topic or the title of your letter. Immediately after your title is your paragraphs, your purpose of writing, which is your body, the body of the letter. So you have body of the letter. Like the body of the letter. So like I said the body of the letter is into 3 paragraphs. I will really explain because I have explained that. I said the body of the letter, the first paragraph is your introductory paragraph, in which you introduce us to your letter. You introduce the reader to your letter. The second paragraph is every other point you want to develop, every other thing you want to say, that is the other paragraphs. Every other thing you have to say is developed into other paragraphs. And last we have your concluding paragraph. Concluding paragraph. Your concluding paragraph in which you conclude your letter. Yes? In which you conclude your letter. And immediately after the body, you have written all the purpose of writing your letter, then you close. Immediately after that is your close. And I said your close, the only thing that you write there is yours faithfully. Yours faithfully. After yours faithfully, you write comma, punctuation, you will sign signature. After your signature is your full name. I hope you got that. Then, alright, feature of informal letter. Features of informal letter. The way you write the features that we have for formal are just slightly things that just the one that is not going to be there. We also have almost same for informal. Like I said, in informal you have 2 addresses, but in formal it is just one address, which is the writer's address. Then you have date, followed immediately by date. After your date, it is followed by salutation. Dear sir, dear madam, dear friend, salutation. Immediate salutation is the body. You do not need to write up, it's just the body. The body of your letter. Just like we have 3 paragraphs, you also have 3 paragraphs for your body, which is your introduction, other paragraphs, and conclusion. Where you have the last one is your close, your conclusion, your close. Where you can write yours sincerely. That is your close. Yours sincerely. Yours sincerely is your close. So after yours sincerely, just write your name. Just your name. You don't need to write any other thing apart from your name. Just your name. And thank you for the way you have stood with me, that we have done it together. Next time where we meet, it will be more interesting than this. Till we meet, yours again, Omolade TV. Thank you and stay blessed.